Welcome to your weekly Mom Escape, a space where you can kick back, relax, and teleport to the world of me time. So grab your favorite drink and come escape with us.
Hey, Mom Squad. Welcome to the Momscape podcast. I'm Tiffany.
I'm Nikki.
I'm Tramika.
And I'm Marion. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you and the moms that you love can be here next week for your weekly Mama Escape. Now, new topic. Today we're going to be talking about expectations versus reality. So, when it comes to friendships, your partner or your spouse, work, motherhood, community, what have you gone into that you expected it to be one way, but then you realized it was a whole other, and you had to adjust in those moments? So, Nikki, do you have any stories for us?
I can't go first on this one. I gotta hear more. Sorry. I
Okay.
gotta hear more.
All right. I'm gonna bounce it over to Tiffany.
Sure. So let's see our expectations versus reality. Um, let's start off. I guess let me think of something. Maybe some friendship stuff here. I think I've had pretty good I don't want to say good, but my expectations, because I sometimes hold people at arm's length until they can't get in, my expectation, I don't necessarily get, I don't want to say hurt as easily, but because I'm already, you know, like this with you, like just to even letting people in. So for me, just when I'm like meeting new folks and building new friendships, I'm still always like this. And it's always like an associate level, right? It's like, okay, associate till I feel like I can call you a friend.
Is that like a wall you put up based on like past experiences or?
you know what? It's a walk, but I've never had bad experiences though. That's the crazy part. I think
Hmm.
it's more of a thing of just you be mindful who you let into your circle and seeing other people. I've learned from other people and I've seen what they've been through, what they've encountered.
Mm,
And I've just always been like that, is just very cautious. I've never had a situation where, necessary, a friend just did me so bad where I cut off. I've had it where there's been times, a friend of mine and we haven't spoken in a period of time. And then because the type of relationship we have, we come back together, we figure out what the hell is going on. One time it's been my fault. Another time it's been someone else's fault. But I've always just been that way, just very careful because I have such a smaller group of friends anyway. I'm not the type that has
hmm
30 friends or anything like that. I'm always
Heard.
going always associate level, associate level, associate level. And I think a part of it too is about my mama. Mommy's always say something. You can't trust everybody, you can't da, 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 da. And so for me, it's that. And then when they come in, when I feel like it's a certain point where I feel that comfortability, the actions, the word, everything, it's like a whole package is literally like dating, and I'm just like, all right, cool. I'll call that person a friend. So for me,
hmm
really those people that I felt like my expectations of a potential friend, it would lead to that because I'm so cautious. There's only one time. That's only because, well, let me phrase that. So it's only another time, but that was I stopped it right there. So it was like they showed signs. It was a potential friendship that my husband likes to used to do dates for me, like little friend dates, because you know, I'm just very about people. And so there was one person, and she would always say, "Oh, let's do this," or "I'm going to do this," and nothing ever happened of it. So at first, I'm like, "Okay, cool. She seems cool," and then I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm done. I'm done. You're not going to tell me to do something, and you don't do it. I'm over it. Let's go on to the next thing." So then it's just like it's not there. So
So what I'm hearing is Tiffany don't really be out here messing with people in these streets like that. Is what I'm hearing.
yeah, actually, yeah. It really is. It's really is. I've had it where there's been, they're like, "Oh, I didn't, I just wasn't sure how you were gonna be, and I heard you're like this," and I'm just like, it's not that I'm a B word or anything like that. It's that I'm just very cautious. And initially I do. I'm not going to be as friendly. I'm not going to be whatever. It's like feeling you out, you know? It's like feeling the vibe out. Um Seeing if I like you, I want to deal with you, you know? Like I'm open to it, but it's just I'm just so cuz I've learned from other people. I've learned from other people. So I've been fortunate enough where at least for the friendship part that I've had the friendships that I have chosen to grow and build with were genuine. They, you know, they worked. It
So
proceeded.
you ain't never had no false expectations in these friendships. I'm gonna give you some time to think about that. Come on
I
now, we gotta go a
don't
little bit deeper.
know.
You
Okay.
ain't never, because listen, I could run down the whole list right now.
I don't know because
Like,
I always think that everyone starts off as an associate, not off the top of my
well, okay,
head.
but go into, so I get you saying the growing friendships, right? So
Uh-huh.
going from like an associate to this is just a coworker, and then we're gonna, but in your friendships, like in
Okay.
the friendships that you actually have, there has never been any times where there were like any false expectations that you expected one thing, but then their perspective was something else, which is their reality,
Yes.
or
Yes.
okay.
If in current, yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm thinking we're just talking about and the current ones, not current, literally current, but friends that I was in the midst of it. It was, and there were, or I guess there were expectations, and that was where I was saying where there's been times where there was falling outs, and it was periods of time where it was like, for instance, I remember one time a friend of mine, very close friends, and you know, we all of a sudden she just stopped talking to me, just stopped talking, and I'm just like, well, what the hell is going on? Like I'm here for you for X, Y, Z, double H, whatever the case is. And in my head, it was if there was issues, you should have just talked to me about it because that's how the way I am. If we got an issue, if there's a problem, let's talk about it, let's work it out, whatever the case is. But that particular friend at the time was just, I don't even want to deal with you. So my expectations was like, well, you F you pretty
Yeah,
much,
see,
you
that's a
know,
good one.
yeah,
Yes,
you know, I'm
okay.
like, well, fuck you then, because it's no, this is how you should do it. If we're this good of a friend, it shouldn't be a problem with you talking to me, with us discussing it out or whatever. And then I let it be. I was just, I don't got time for it then. And then it just kept eating me because we were such good friends. And I would just
Mm.
still reach out occasionally. And finally, you know, she opened up. She was like, look, because you dot 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 dot. And I was just like, damn. I was like, but that was never my intention. It was never my
Mm.
intention to make you feel that way. It was never my intention to ever treat you that way. You know, let's talk about this. And then finally we did talk about it and resolved it and was able to, you know, kind of get back in there. So I guess I would say something like that would be an example of, to me, I'm like, if there's an issue in a friendship, let's talk about it and then keep it moving. And I had another incident too with a friend, and you know, we had a it wasn't necessarily a fall between us, it was a third party that led to a falling out. And we talked for a period of time. And in my head again, it was, we need to talk about it. I don't got time for this, that, and another. She reached out, we rekindled, and it was like bam. So
When
um
we shall rekindle, that's cool.
yeah, so
Mhm.
mine aren't too, you know, it's there's some things, but I'm always like, I want, if I feel, for me, it's just like if it's a friend is a friend. Like I do not
Mm-hmm.
take that word lightly at all. And if we're having a problem and I respect you and I like you and you are my friend and I have love for you, we need to figure out how to work it out then and then move forward. So yeah, you guys. So I know so Tramika, you're like, you had a whole list of things. What is
I
your
mean,
Listen.
so it can be very light stuff to like very heavy stuff, right? And so the whole, okay, so let me talk about where my expectations derive from. So when I was younger, I read books a lot as an escape. And so I would literally like put myself into these people's worlds, TV shows, movies, y'all remember TGIF when it was Family
Mhm.
Matters and Step by Step and all that? And so I'm like in these shows, and then Saturday morning you waking up and you watching these cartoons, and you had like the after school specials. So I just thought, right, reading these books and watching these TV shows and movies, that the friends I seen represented, that I was just gonna have those same type of relationships. Nobody ever talks about you have to work through friendships. Nobody ever talks about like when you do go through something with somebody, you don't just cut them off. You got to work through it. Like nobody ever talks about that. You even gonna probably get in an argument with your friends. Like you didn't see that type of stuff. Sometimes little catty stuff, but it wasn't like to the extent that I in the relationships I grew with, especially when I became into adulthood. And so so those were some of the expectations of where they derived from. Like I just thought everything was gonna be smooth, easy, etc. Right. Then I will get into, and I had a bunch. I ain't gonna talk about them all at once, but I think one of the biggest things was the expectation of my friends knowing when to show up for me, like when certain times were important. For example, I had to actually talk about this in therapy. So I would like go through a whole year and not ask my friends for anything, but I'm the supportive friend. I'm the pusher. If you say you're gonna do something, don't say it around me because it's gonna get done, right? And so I'm supportive. Anything you want, we talked about being a plug. I'm like telling people, oh yeah, my friend doing this, like just connecting people, right? And so the only time I would ask for anything was for my birthday. For my birthday, quality time is my love language. I need you to like, I'll work around your dates, but I need you to show up. Like I'm not asking you to pay for nothing. I just need you to show up. And so after years of being disappointed when it came around my birthday, I'm like, I'm tired of feeling like this around my birthday. And so I had brought it up to my therapist, and she was saying, because your expectations is you're not asking for anything the entire year. So you're like, I'm only asking for you to show up this one time a year. And when they don't, you're disappointed. And I'm like, absolutely. But she helped me kind of put that into a framework. And I had to go back and communicate, kind of went off on all my friends. Like, look, I literally started like that. Like, no, hey, hello, look. I don't ask for much. You can ask them. All of them went to all. I don't ask for much. But all I'm asking y'all to do is to show up. And so their reality was I'm just this strong person and I got everything together and I don't need anything. And I was never vulnerable enough to ask them for help any other times of the year. So they just thought that I was just good. And my therapist was like, no, like you gotta communicate what you need ongoing all throughout the year. So that is why one big example for me. So this is the first birthday coming up where I went through this thing in therapy last year. So I'm like, no, actually last year I had a good birthday. But that's why it came up, because it was starting to be disappointing in the beginning. So this is the first year that I'm like going through and gonna see how this thing work out. But that was a huge, huge expectations versus reality when it came to friendships for me.
So Shamika, though, why is it particularly I know we spoke about it with Marianne. Oh, what was it about for you though, for your birthdays is it the same? Well, I know we spoke about a little bit too, but is do you want to share a little more about why for you it's such a big deal?
So my love language is quality time, and I always have this picture of what I want my birthday to look like every year. And I do enjoy having time with my family, but I really enjoy my girl time. Like I really, really. And so every year, if I'm not doing it all throughout the year for my birthday, I need at least a few days where I can be with my girls. And so if I'm only asking you to show up this one time a year for me, and I'm willing to be like, hey, you free this day? Let's do it this weekend. I need you to show up. Point
Yeah.
blank period.
Yeah,
I
no,
just need
that
you to
makes
show
sense.
up. So
Mhm.
it was just that was the one time a year that I was asking. It could have been Christmas, it could have been anything, but it was that one. This is the one time, so I need you to show up.
I hear that. I'm curious, how did your friends respond to that? That when you did say that, besides the fact that, well, I thought you were, did they say like, I'll try it next year or whatever? How did they receive that when you shared it?
So some of them straighten like right up. Like I don't have an issue with them no more. Like that kind of, how they say tune ups like with cars. That tune up got
Mhm.
them all the way together. Not even send it to the people who said that they was willing to show up. I'm like, I'm sending it to everybody because I need to be clear across the board what my expectations are. So some of them were okay. Some of them kind of mute. I will say one. I won't say that we're not friends anymore, but it's not, because the other thing that I learned in therapy too is you can communicate your expectations, but the other person has to agree to it in order for it to be a solid expectation between both parties.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
so if they can't agree to what I'm asking for, then then that's something else that's another conversation we need to have. And so there was one person that we kind of really don't talk as much, but like if you can't show for my birthday though, like that's the whole issue for me. Like I'm not,
Yeah.
so
I have a
yeah.
question. Is the not showing up, is it without excuse or without reason? Or like, is it something came up and I didn't show up? Or is it just no call, no show?
No,
I mean, no
because
show.
if any, no, so great question. But if anybody know me, I plan very far in advance. So it's not like hey, this week I want to do this, and it's like, dang girl, I already had this plan. It's not that. It's not like okay, like without going into full details, what I had wanted to do was like rent a cabin, like this big beautiful house. And I don't know if it was like a money thing, but you could communicate that to me as well. Like it was like I'm not gonna pay that to go like to buy into it or to stay there or whatever, or I'll let you know, or but like y'all supposed to be like my circle, like, you know, and I worked around
Mhm.
everybody date. So I mean it can be something on both sides, but no, to answer your question, it wasn't like this huge thing came up or it was this emergency. It was just like, and I don't need you to be when it comes to my birthday.
Mhm.
I'm
They
just saying.
they have
That's
these
all I'm
social.
asking for.
No,
Like,
I
Yeah,
agree.
I'm with you.
I agree. There's these social. I'm about to share with you guys offline. There's this one where it's not a birthday, but it's a trip, and it's saying about how sometimes when you're planning a trip, particularly with Black folks, and how everybody's talking about, oh yeah, everybody's excited, and then it's just like, boop, they just drop off because of whatever reasoning it is, you know. So, oh,
what about you, Mary?
Child. We talking about friendships. We talking about
yeah, yeah.
it's I think for me, I already in past episode, talked about my birthday and all that and how it is not this year was the first time it was like actually given anything. And I appreciate my friends that showed up for me this year because they showed up in ways I don't know if they were just, but it's because not everybody knows everything.
Mm-hmm.
But cause like
Mhm.
I'm sitting here going like, who knew what and who planned what, and I'm like, the people that was at the forefront of the plans, they didn't know everything. So maybe that's what it was. They were trying to undo what has been done before. Maybe that's what it was because it was specific things that they did this year that that the people in the past just did not show up, and part of that was showing up for me in my the business that I have. And so I would say like the biggest expectation versus reality for me is what support looks like from friends.
Mhm.
And I'm still trying to figure it out,
Mhm.
to be honest. I'm not about to be out here and be like, you know, it was them, it wasn't me, this, that, and the third. It's just, well, first of all, what I'm realizing that is I was writing notes as y'all was talking. One thing I wrote is liking somebody is not enough. And that's romantically, platonically, what have you. Liking somebody is not enough. You have to be aligned with somebody.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I remember we were on a Mom Squad Connect call, and I had said like, oh, I need to trademark this first, because I'm talking about because
Don't
we
use
have
it,
our
y'all. If she said don't use it.
right.
Exactly.
We have the 5 love languages, but we need to talk about like friend languages as well.
Mhm. Yep.
Um, you can't be friends. It's not going to. I don't think it's going to be a successful friendship if you don't have this similar love or similar friend languages. So the things that because I talk about the past friendships that I had, the things that they needed from me, I did a piss poor job at providing because it just is not in me. I tried to contort myself to provide it, and I failed. And the things that I needed for them for whatever reason, whether they just didn't want to, or if it just wasn't in them, it wasn't part of who they were, they failed. They failed me.
Mhm.
And supporting in endeavors is a huge thing for me. And like I keep hearing outside people who are outside the situation give their opinions, where some people are like, no, you're absolutely right, this is what support looks like, that should have been easy for them, and that's it. Then I have other people like, there's other ways to support, which is something that they kept saying to me. Support doesn't always, you can't dictate the way somebody supports you because support
Mm.
looks different for them. I disagree.
I
There's
But
think
an
it's more
expectation versus
like I think
reality.
it's more, but it's more about communicating what support looks like to you because
yeah,
that's
and when
just
I
like the
did,
love
they were like, you
languages.
can't dictate how I support you. You're gonna
Mhm.
take the support the way I give it and be happy. And I'm like,
Yeah, I don't know.
So, and the thing about it was, Okay, so this is the analogy. So if anybody's wondering, like, well, what's she talking about? This is the analogy that I've always given. If Tiffany is a close friend of mine and she quits her job today and said, I feel like God called me, or or I feel like my purpose in life, my new passion is washing cars. I am going to, I mean, we're gonna talk about it first. You sure, girl?
Because I'm like, girl, if he told you to
Washing
wash
cars over
cars,
Yeah.
if he tell you to put a
project
bikini
management. You
on,
sure?
like,
But once, if that's what you're doing, and I say I support you as your friend, and I didn't gave you my concerns, and you like, no, I just know this is what I gotta do. Guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go out
Support.
on my social media. I'm gonna talk to my friends, my family. My girl Tiffany is washing cars. Y'all better take y'all cars to 399 Main Street.
Yeah.
Get your car washed today. I'm gonna take my car and get it washed.
Yeah.
No
You're right.
discounts. All the things. I'm gonna be loud about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I had done that.
Mm.
Now, I don't have no crazy following on social media or nothing like that, but I took the time out that no matter what those people were
Yeah.
doing, it was loud and it was, you know, free press, free advertising on my social media.
well, let me
And
ask you this, Marion. Let me ask you
some of
this.
the stuff, uh,
So Tiffany starting a car wash, and so that's what support is looking like for you, right? So if Tiffany's starting a car
mm,
wash, and I don't feel like I have a following, or because I don't share a lot of stuff because it has to be on brand for like my following.
I don't
So
have a
if
brand,
Tiffany,
so
no, I'm just using an example. So Tiffany starts a car wash, and I'm like, girl, I can't share, but what I can do is come to your house and help you make signs. Is that still support?
yes,
Yes.
Okay.
yes. If I would have got
Mm-hmm.
that instead, I probably would have been a little less salty.
Yeah.
But you know what I did get? I did get stuff. So my stuff is skincare and beauty products. I got unsolicited. Well, some of the advice was solicited, but I
Unsolicited.
also got the tear down of,
Mm.
like, it was never, it was real like mean girlish,
Oh,
like
so not positive, not
it
positive.
wasn't like,
Ah.
it was like nice nasty sometimes, like, oh, you
Oh.
should do this because you seem to be good at this thing and this will help your brand grow. But if I didn't, but then like my ADHD is another thing that I have to consider um when I am talking about friendships and stuff, because it's not that I'm not taking your advice and I'm not saying that your idea isn't good. Some things might take me longer because I have to build up the courage to do it. So you're
Mm-hmm.
saying you should go live every day and do da 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 da. That is a great idea. That's not easy for me to just do it. But I do
Mm-hmm.
want to do that. Thank you. But then when you turn around and be like, but you should only show this because nobody's going to pay for that.
Mm.
Nobody's going to pay such and such for an eyeliner. So don't scrap that. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, and I
So
get
I'm
being
wondering.
real, but
So I'm
I get
wondering if
being
it was
real,
one
but
of the
like when
negative
you
comments
are,
that they had. No,
say
go
that
ahead.
again.
Go ahead.
I was
Go
gonna say I
ahead.
get being real because, like, I'm not saying, because I know I can just hear people being like, oh, she just wants somebody to coddle her or something. Like, that's not it. But it's just like you can just feel it
Mm-hmm.
when there's nastiness
Like the
behind.
delivery of it, because someone can say the
Yeah.
same line and two different people
Yes.
say the same line. It's all about the
Yeah.
delivery of it.
Come out with a new product. Oh, that's just a knockoff that. Or like,
Mm-hmm.
like you always gotta have like a something grotesque to say.
Yeah. Then those are the
So
people that
I
you want
feel
to.
like it wasn't even how they showed up to support you. They just didn't believe in it, period. So it was the belief or the belief.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
And this is the thing. So this is one of the things where I'm considering, like, this might just be versus how I think versus how somebody else thinks. One of my friends had brought something to me that I had already written off, but they were doing it. I gave it a second look because of who was presenting it. I'm not going to just be like, no, girl, that's a scam. No, girl, that's this. No, girl, that's that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, let me look further into it and see how
Mm-hmm.
I can show up for you,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But when you just, yeah, when you just being negative,
Yeah.
when you just putting negative into something that I feel like is God ordained, that I feel like, that I have, that I have purpose in,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Because I've
No, I
had people,
agree with
and
you.
I'm not saying the people who have shown up for me, they've given me constructive criticism. But it's just like, how does it come through condemnation or through love?
Yep.
So
Mm-hmm. I don't see nothing wrong with that, Mary. And them those people who are like that, them adios, because even though they
yeah.
may be haters in
And
themselves, you
I
know.
want to say, when it comes to like entrepreneurship and businesses that are service and product based, it doesn't always mean that you support only with money. I want to
Mm-hmm.
make that clear. It's not that but on one hand, it's like you can't get like a little $10 something real quick just to, because I would definitely put money
No,
towards
no,
everything.
I
But
don't believe in. Nikki, I see your
yeah.
wheels turning, so I want you to say something too. That I don't believe in, because I buy stuff based on what I need versus just because you selling it. My kid can be selling something, and just because you
Yeah.
selling it, if I don't need it, I'm not. So,
And
but I
that's
do think
something I
showing up in
disagree with.
different ways.
Like, I'm not gonna be. I may not be a consistent customer, but like my one friend, when she launched her business, she put out T-shirts. I was not gonna not have that T-shirt. Like, that's just not gonna happen.
And see, there goes the expectation and
But would
reality
you? But
example.
yeah, but would you wear the T-shirt? That's just like, for example,
I
if
don't care.
I used to do the like. So, for example, I am doing event planning. So you just gonna buy my services, even though you don't got an event coming up, just because you want to support me, or are
No,
you
but
gonna
I will
support me no
tell the
matter
next
what?
person that's having a wedding or whatever you have or corporate event, I know somebody. I'm gonna put your name wherever I
Yes,
can.
but so that means you don't always have to buy
So,
into
or
what they're
I
selling.
might just give you seed money though. Like,
Well, that's different. That I
so
agree
that's
to
the thing.
that.
If
You can
it's
get
a
some,
T-shirt
yeah.
that I just can't have, like, or just don't like, say my best friend is a man, and if he puts out something for men, I'm gonna buy a T-shirt and give it to my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my money is going towards my friends' endeavors.
And then and it goes back to, because then if you have a friend, you know, kind of going back what Tramika was saying, who may not have the finances to do it, what other ways that they can support you? And it comes down to communication.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. Nikki, what you thinking, girl?
Thinking a lot of things. Because so when y'all first brought it up, I was kind of thinking like, so where are these expectations even coming from? And then I was trying to think about the situation for me. So then the conversation started getting good because I'm like, Marion, you got your wow. So oh wow.
But you know what's so funny? You remember we were talking about the community activist for Marion, right? And I was saying she's going to ride hard more than just the external folks. This is a prime example of Marion ride. It don't matter. Marion probably got $5. If your shirt gonna cost $1, I'm gonna get my little dollar and I'm gonna go ahead and support. So this is a prime example, listeners. Maybe it should be like ride or die, or well, maybe that be a little hood. But you know,
But that goes to say we can't expect everybody else to do what we will do. We can't, because I started that way in a lot of relationships, and if you do that, oh baby, you would be disappointed and heartbroken a lot of times. So we can't
that's
expect.
the part. That's the part with the expectations, is like we expect us from other people.
Absolutely.
And it gets to a point to me where it's like, well, I would do this, so I'm just expecting that you would do that. To me, it's like it kind of gets a little schizophrenic. It's like we have these ideas in our head based on our perspective, like whatever values, like Tramika, you watching TV and seeing those friends, and so we get this fantasy or the picture in our head that the person doesn't do the things, and then I think our mind just kind of loses it. It just goes like off. Because it's like, wait a minute, but I saw this, like I wrote the script.
Right. You didn't read it out of my head. You didn't read it out of my head.
You're not following the lines that I wrote.
Right.
And the person doesn't even have the script.
that's a good example, Nikki. You wrote a whole script and forgot to give it to the rest of the actors and actresses.
So, I mean, I've been in both situations. Like I've been in a relationship, like a long, like very close relationship, and it got to, so my view was, and we both had the same pretty picture. We gonna grow old together. We would see these two. One time we were in Philly and we saw these two little old ladies, these two little old ladies, and one had her fancy scarf draped around her neck, and then the other one had something else, but they both looked like older characters of Us. She was like, "Oh, that one would be me because my cousin is the one with the fancy handbags and stuff like that." She was like, "Look at us when we get 90," like. So that kind of was the picture that we had, and then we went through a season where we started getting separated, and I kept trying to go back to the picture. I'm like, but wait, we're supposed to grow all together, and I'm like, don't you see what is happening? Like the picture is breaking, And
Fading.
she's like, I don't see what you like. She didn't see what I was seeing. She didn't see what I saw so wrong with what was going on in our relationship. So I kept trying to jump in to say, hey, we need to fix this. Like we need to fix this now. And child, she was in her world, doing her own thing. And it absolutely broke my heart. Like a schoolgirl. Like I remember going on a weekend trip with my mother, and I just needed a minute to breathe. And I remember laying across the bed with my journal, like crying, like I was still 10 years old. But I mean, it just was that picture. So then, I gave it some time, and eventually, we started patching things back up. And it's just sometimes just a realization that, first of all, you're going to go through phases. It's like any relationship. You're going to go through phases. You are individual women, growing and evolving, and you got to give it room to look different. And so one day, we went somewhere. We went to like a concert, and we were sitting somewhere. We went to lunch. We were sitting there having lunch, and all of a sudden the picture came back, and I was like, oh, we're doing it, like it looked different. It was different circumstances, but we were sitting out on a patio, we're like at that time like approaching 50, and I just was like, this is a version of the story of the picture. So I think sometimes you just gotta let things play themselves out. And then I've been in a situation where I've disappointed someone. And that doesn't feel good either.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't
And
feel
you
good.
need that person to check you though too. That's the key, is you have to have that person tell you about yourself, and you have them, like we were saying, them telling you though their expectations as well.
Yeah. And I wanted to bring that up too, Nikki, because like I don't know, there's something in me that there's like some kind of insecurity in me that always wants to have a caveat when I tell my story. So because and especially when I tell it as passionately as I do, I don't want to sound like I'm the victim and I'm the perfect friend and all that. I have definitely fell short in when we talk about friendships and relationships, what have you, like all types of things. I've fallen in motherhood. I mean, as we all do. But yeah,
Because
I'm
we're
not
not
out
perfect.
here. Yeah, I'm about to say I ain't out here perfect, Patty. Got the formula. I'm still figuring out. Even with I think I mentioned in a former episode that God really, like, my whole circle has changed. Is completely different. 2022, that's my circle, was my 2022 was about God pruning and changing and cultivating my circle and my relationships. And even with the ones I have now, I'm still figuring it out. But the thing is, I can say, like, I have not had great relationships in the past. I'm still trying to learn.
Yeah, because I texted you a couple weeks ago and you responded to me like 2 days later, and I wanted to share like this great news with you. So let me tell you real quick, you were the first person that I wanted to tell, besides my big assistant, that Melissa was coming because I knew you liked her, and you didn't respond. And
Marion,
she ruined my moment.
Tramika's expectation for you to respond in 2 minutes, and you did not respond in 2
texted you
days.
and I was like, hey, and you was like, girl, something, but it was a couple days later. I was like, you good.
That
like,
wasn't that the next morning? That wasn't the next day?
I
I
don't
know
know.
what you're
I'm just
talking
joking. I'm
about.
over exaggerating. I'm joking.
Okay, girl, it's been a crazy couple weeks. Like
I'm just messing
ADHD
with you.
aside, it's been a crazy couple weeks, child. Like
But
I
that
get
was
up
the
to
reason
like
why
9
I
a.m.
was messaging you, because I knew you liked her a lot and I wanted to share with you first.
But then I told you when I saw it, I was like, I can't believe you got it. Like I was like really excited.
Yeah. So you made up for it. You made up.
Audience
So,
prime example again of our expectations and
Yeah. I
reality.
mean, we're not perfect. I think
Of
that number
course.
one, there has to definitely be some intentionality behind stuff. Like I remember, like one of the growing friendships that I have right now. I was it's a young lady that when I first started talking to her, I felt like I knew her for a while. Like the first conversation we had in depth, it was like for a really long time, and it was through Facebook Messenger. And then when I was thinking about and being intentional about the type of people I wanted around me in my circle and my friends, and I'm like, yo, she cool. So I literally text her. I'm a texter. I text her this long thing like, look, God is doing this in my life, and I feel like you bring this value to my life. And I think that's important too, like knowing the value that you bring to people's life and like communicating with your friends what value they bring to your life as well. And I was like, I really just want to like move this thing forward, like we was dating or something. And I text her, I was like, can we like take our relationship to our friendship to the next level? Like I literally asked her that. And so we've been intentional about it growing. Now she lives in a whole other state, so we're not seeing each other all the time, but we are really good about checking in with each other and stuff like that. And so I think that we definitely have to be intentional. The communication, Tiffany, you mentioned that because Nikki too. I have this whole script in my head. You have this whole script, and we both falling short because we ain't neither one of us communicating. We just assuming and thinking and hoping and wishing. Like, I'm real with my friends, and that's why I don't have a lot of inner circle friends because I don't think a lot of people can take my realness. Because if I'm falling short, I expect you to let me know. But if you do something that bothers me, especially now, like going through therapy, I have to let you know because we need to make this right. Like, you know what I mean? So the communication and being intentional, I think, is super important.
Yeah.
yeah,
I think the other part though is at times we have to realize that we can pick up and know people's expectations when you're talking to them. If you're talking with a friend, I was talking with a friend recently, she was telling me about an incident that was going on. And that story alone, it told me what she expected out of her friends. So it was just the fact of listening and knowing, like, oh, snap, okay. So she expects her folks to do X, Y, and Z. So it's one of those things you put back in your head again, whether it be, the love language, the specific act or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and just being mindful and knowing if you're assuming, you care and you want to, be mindful of your friend or whatever. So that's what it just really is the listening and just paying attention to what folks are saying. Because a lot of times if you're talking to someone, you're going to know what their expectations are to a certain level, right? And then it's just like, okay, am I gonna take note of it, or am I just gonna put it, write a notepad and put the notepad to the side? I'm gonna write the notepad, put a sticky note on my, TV and be like, all right, I remember, you know, Marion said X, Y, and Z. So I think that's the other part. And a lot of times that's hard to do because when you're talking, you may just be listening to them, just listen to their story, whatever the case is, like with that particular friend at the time. But then it was just me digesting because I saw how upset she was regarding this other incident with someone else. I was like, oh shit, she really don't like when somebody do that, you know? And it was just like, okay, let me remember. Not saying that I would necessarily do that particular situation, but
yeah.
it was just a reminder, like, okay, that's how she
Yeah, you
And
can
not do
learn that way.
anything that's anywhere around what that situation
operates.
was. Not anything
Hmm.
related to it. Nothing that she can see. This the same thing as when,
Yeah,
like,
But Tiffany, I hope you encourage her to go back and communicate with that friend
yeah.
about
mhm.
what
Well,
she
at
did
first I
not
was
like.
saying, well, that's effed up. Then I was like, well, why would she? Do you think? Da-da-da. So I was more so at the time kind of probing because I was even like, well, hold on, what the heck or whatever.
Mhm.
And I was asking like, why would you think, X, Y, and Z? And she was just like, I think it's this, that, and another. And I was like, you know, we just was talking. We didn't talk about the time because I was just more like, oh, okay, all right.
And
One of
actually, Tiffany, I commend you because I do that, but I always thought that was just one of my ADHD superpowers because we tend to be the most empathetic people in the room.
mm-hmm.
Because that was like some of the things that I've gone through in the past. And I'm like, now I told you this story of when this heifer did this, and you're gonna turn around and do the same thing. So I was just like, okay, maybe that's my ADHD. Because
Yeah.
part of the ADHD, I can listen listen to you and process something else the back of my head
Uh,
at the same time.
but you know what's so
And
funny?
so I was like, maybe everybody can't do that.
Yeah, well, I'm not really an empathetic
What was you
person
saying?
though. I know I'm saying I'm not. You know how you have the skills, the strengths finders. Empathy was like one of my lowest ones, which is funny. So it's like I think I'm
No,
only
it
empathetic.
ain't. That ain't funny for you. That's pretty
Yeah,
realistic.
I
I
know.
can see it. Hmm.
It really is. It probably is. Yeah. So, but I'm only empathetic for people I truly care about. And that's the thing I think where it's the difference. As most other people, I really am that one that it's like, well, shit, you saw all the dang on red signs. You did it. I am so disconnected with empathy. So it is only people that I care about where that would be in there. And even to then, it's a certain level. I'm like, well,
But why is it that when we see the signs, we don't take it upon ourselves, the accountability to ourselves to make a choice about the relationship? You don't have to stay anywhere. You don't want to
That's
be
true.
that you're not that you don't feel valued. Um,
Hmm.
I just think at that point, I think we just try to hold on to things that either has run its course
Yep.
or
yeah.
we're trying to
I was.
force something to be what it's not. And then that becomes a you thing at that point. Um, y'all were talking about communication, and it made me think of this. I don't know if it was a podcast or some class I was in, but the girl was talking about knowing your ground rules and your boundaries. So sometimes we look at boundaries as for the other people. It's like she was like, no, the boundary is for you.
Hmm.
The boundary is for you. And she said that, the things that she knows about herself and how she does her relationships is like, she said, I know I'm not a phone person or, something like that. So I love you and I want to hear all the things, when we talk, but it's very likely that I'm not going to call you that often.
Hmm.
Are you okay with that? And then you have these agreements and you just like it's an understanding. This is how I am because how many like okay, you put your these are my expectations. This is what I need, and people struggle with things. You know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
people struggle with things. And so to get their brain to go every time, I know she likes this, I need to do this. And then
Hmm.
they're not going to just do that every day. So it takes patience. If the person is really going to make an attempt to try, like if the situation and the relationship is that important that this adjustment must be made, you still got to give them time. But then people
Yeah.
struggle with things. There are things that we don't meet our own expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so true. That's
We
absolutely
disappoint
true.
ourselves.
Hmm.
So it's just like we are just human beings. And
Hmm.
if I try to make the adjustments for this person's expectations, how many times am I doing that in a day? For even for not
And that's
just the
tiring.
world, but just for the people in my life that I love. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, and I've had to say this to somebody or some people before, and I'm saying, I get it. I hear you. I do think I need to do a better job in this area.
Hmm.
It's not the priority of what I'm working on right now. I'm doing
Yeah.
something else right now. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sorry, but I'm not on that. I'm not on that part of me right now.
I can't give you what you need.
Mm. Yeah,
Just like when you're in a relationship
and
and
that's I'm so glad you brought all this up, Nikki. Like you just hitting the nail right on the head right now because I wanted to bring that up as well. Because actually that's what the end of some of not two of my relationships that shifted. That's how it was. It was just like we trying to squeeze blood out of a turnip right now, and I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. And I love them and I wish them the best. Like I'm not here to demonize nobody. I fell short, they fell short. We were not giving each other what we needed. And it was time to move on. And who knows, 20 years from now what would have happened? I don't know. But
And
right
so
now I'm at peace.
the
But
part is that part, because I was talking to a friend who like she had a very similar situation of what I was experiencing with my relationship, and it's like sometimes you do that cutoff, like okay, it's nothing's moving here, but if the love is real, would you leave the door open? So sometimes we close the door and we're like, oh, I had to cut that off, and then now there's this bitterness, and so you never even leave the door open to let it grow if it's going to grow and evolve. But sometimes
And I'm
so what you do in that space, you should be healing yourself, because the thing we say is, well, I'm not going to keep giving this person opportunity to come in and disappoint me and hurt me again. But you should be already doing your own healing, so that now when if the door is open and you let them in and say hey or whatever, and you be like, okay, they didn't change, all right, and then keep it moving. But for that relationship to even for me to experience that moment that we had together, I would have never experienced that if I had always been stuck on the breach of the relationship that I thought happened.
So I'm guessing if you leave the door cracked, right, when they come back in the room, do they get the same seat at the table? Would be my thought process.
Not immediately.
Because
not immediately.
so this is kind of where I am with my friendship. This is a really good conversation. This is where I am. So my word for the year, I always give myself a word for the year. My word for the year is alignment. I'm trying to come into alignment with like every area of my life, right? And so one of the things that I said that I was going to do in the areas of friendships, because I've always been on these shaky ground with friendships and transitions of friendships. And I don't have like how people say they go to college and they have like I met these people in college, now these my ride or dies, and I just got these solids. I've had like what you mentioned, like we may stop talking for a while and then we kind of go back, but that's not where I am in life right now. That's not what I need. That's not what I desire, right? So I want these like deep, healthy friendships. And so one of the things I said I was going to do is I was going to cultivate the current friendships around me, and either people were going to fall off or we were going to get closer together. So I did stuff like I have in my calendar like times I'm going to reach out to people to make sure that they're good. Just because I'm busy, I may forget. I send out a love language test to all my friends, like, okay, I need to start loving you in your language this year. Just being like super intentional about all these things, because I feel like where I'm going in life, I gotta know, because like God, it is so much like God showed me a dream of a table literally of my enemies, and there were people there, faces that I seen that my husband would probably have been told me like she ain't really your friend, but I'm trying to hold on to these things, and it's like, okay, where you're going, you have to have solids. And so for me, I just feel like I don't have room for a cracked door right now. Well, not a wide open door.
No, that's
It can
fine.
be cracked, but if it is cracked, when you come back into the room, if I allow you, right, if we decide that mutually we're going to do this thing, I just don't know if you're going to have the same seat at the table. Now, I'm not saying that you won't or that we can eventually grow back there, but I am really, and it can change for me, but I just feel like this year, just really being aligned where I'm like literally in the center, and I have these people that's like, they're in my life for particular reasons, and not to say that I'm not reciprocating back and adding value to theirs, but what I really need that's going to help me stay like holding my arms up and where I'm going in life now, and just like knowing that people are not here for where I'm going or who I may get connected to, like that was super important for me. So I just wanted to mention that about the whole open door thing, like that's difficult for me to process. Let me just say that.
No, it's okay. But like I said, the door wasn't always open. The door needs to be closed for a while you're doing your thing, while you're doing your healing, while you're getting what you need. It does have to be closed for a while.
Because I think when it cracks is because definitely after time has passed. But it's for me, it's about giving people the space to evolve. Because I was like, I said 20 years from now, you never know. So what? I'm 35. So when I'm 55, I would hope that we are not the same people. And I'm not saying I'm going to go looking for them, but if life brings us back together for whatever reason, I hold no grudges. I hold no, like, I literally love and wish these people well. I want whatever their endeavors are to be prosperous and all these things. And so if we meet up on another level And and all of us have, because I'm not saying like I need to evolve as well.
Mhm.
And we are literally different people at that time. Who knows?
Yeah, I think I'm open to it. I just feel like, and just, so I value stability too. So I'm just like, yo, where my ride or dies? Like, give me
Mhm.
those. Let's rock with those for a minute, and then maybe we'll think about cracking some doors. Like maybe the
Yeah.
windows. I'm not
Oh,
even cracking,
absolutely. Absolutely.
because
The
I
other
have this
thing,
one friendship where we stopped being friends because of a third party. And then I teeter tot like, dang, should I open that door to that again? But the trust will never be the same. So it's like you can come in the room, but you won't have the same seat. Just
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, because how everything kind of rolled out. Like, but I don't know. But I love, it's inspiring, Nikki, to hear your story. Because if you don't open the door, the window, or crack it, or whatever the case may be, there may be an opportunity for you to have that solid friendship. But if you're not open to it, or you never crack whatever, you would never know if it's gonna happen. So I get that side to it. So I don't know. I'm processing that.
There was a TED talk actually recently that I have a group chat. It's actually both of my best friends, and one of them shared this chat, and it's Marissa Franco, and it's actually about making the secret of making new friends as an adult. She shared, but one of the
Mm,
things that she said was, she said friendships, and for friendships that have fizzled out, assume that they haven't fizzled out and they're dead. Just assume they are asleep and waiting to be reawoken. So
mm,
when she had shared, I was like, dang, that's kind of deep. Sometimes that it kind of is, you connected again with you. Like Mary was saying, maybe it's that time to grow or whatever, and being able to reconnect. But I think I agree with the Tramika thing too. You let those, it's like you have to let them back with caution. And maybe this again is just the way I operate, but it's like, you got to let them back in with caution and slowly prove, right? Tramika, do you feel like they have to prove themselves back to you ultimately?
no, I don't think it's approved,
I
because
do.
even in all
I
the
mean, that's what I would think.
but even in all the relationships, it's not necessarily like something happened, right? Sometimes life just takes you on different
Yeah.
paths. So I've had people like, okay, we was talking every week, then it went to every month, then it went to every quarter, then it was like, girl, I ain't talked to you in 2 years. So it kind of just, life just happened. And
That's
so
Yeah.
different.
even with those, because when you come back in the room, I'm in a different position. And so because I'm in a different position, that just looks like because I've evolved, and maybe you have evolved too, hopefully you have evolved too, the dynamics would just look so different for me. And so I don't know, to me it's almost like starting a friendship all over again, and that's a lot.
So even if it dies down, is it more of, let's say you haven't spoken to someone in, 3, 6 months or whatever, and if they come back in, it's not necessarily a thing of just picking back up where you left off. It's more
In
of,
a phone conversation, but you still only gonna be able to have just a certain level of access, period.
And see, that's
oh,
where I'm different
Now it can
yeah,
because
me
grow
too.
over time. Maybe like, oh, okay, I talked to
Mhm.
her, it's been 3 years, but then, oh shoot, we talking again in this next week. Oh shoot, it's the next day. And maybe that will grow over time. But when you just initially come back in, there's definitely a certain level of access. And the only reason being, like, God has literally spoken to me and showed you, I have to be so careful where I am in my
Mhm.
life right now. And so that's why the whole rekindling thing, I'm not saying that people should not do it, and I'm not saying that I would not. It's just, it's tough for me to process right now.
And
I'm a
see, for me,
rekindler.
I feel like it's we talking about two different things. Like falling off. I'll be right here. I am married and I have a problem. I am the fall off friend. I am not that friend that will be talking to you every day, every week. Like we might have period, like seasons of that, but throughout our entire friendship, that's not gonna happen. It's not what's feasible for me. It's not realistic for
Mhm.
me
Mhm.
to be that friend that's calling you all the time throughout the life of our friendship. I can't. I don't know if
Mhm.
it's my ADHD. I don't know if it's just who I am. I can't do it. I can't. I don't have the capacity to keep
Yeah.
up with that all the time. Um, and so, like my very best friend, the person that I trust with literally the life of myself and my son, we can go. I think we've gone like a year and not talk. Not because something happened, but just because life we
Right.
both have families, you know. But when we pick up that phone, we answer it and we pick up where, like, I know that that person has my back no matter what,
Yeah.
no matter how it can go 5 years, 50 years from now. When they answer, I mean, when they call, I'm answering the same. But that's,
Mhm.
I mean, but that
Mhm.
doesn't go for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, no,
No,
it
I'm
might go for
similar.
everybody. For me, because I know who I am, you know.
Yeah.
But but when something actually happens to cause a divide, to me that's different,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. I'm similar, I think, to
Yeah, they
Mary.
are both different.
Yeah.
Mhm. What were you saying, too?
Oh no, I said I think I'm similar regarding the life thing. That's very much I think how I operate too. Where there's again, my friend circle is small, and at times there's some of them. There's a few that I'm speaking to literally regular, and there's few that will take say to contact via text here and there. But it's like when you pick up that phone, I love those moments though, because it's like, so what you been up to, girl?
And
And
you
it's
catch up
just
for 3 hours.
yeah, and even though the phone is hot, you up there like, well, hold on, let me do this right, and it's just
Not the phone hot.
yeah, where you be on your face too long, or you gotta put it on speakerphone, and then the kids and then try to talk to your friend. You're like, go mind your business. So it is like, I don't know. I mean, not to say I wish I don't have to do that, but when it is, those moments are just so because it's just like I have one friend like that because she moved over to the West Coast, so it's so hard to talk to her regularly because of the time difference and everything. But when we do, it is just like it's just I don't sound corny like a magical, but because we were so close when she was over here, but it was just like, oh, we picking up right where it is again, and what's going on, and it's just I don't know. I like that. The I, I'm a rekindler. If you're already in my circle and it's been a minute, and I don't care what it is, and at times, though, sometimes that when that happens, it's because of life. There may have been stuff that
So do
some
you consider them in your circle though? So they're in your inner circle, the people
yeah,
that you
like
don't
this
talk to
particular
for
person's been a
years.
friend since college, and this is the same friend. We've been through some things, and it is someone in my circle. So again, if it was someone maybe teetering on the edge of a circle, it's a completely different story. I
Yep.
Mhm.
probably would react or handle things different. But as I shared, just if you're in my friend circle, it's a different level thing opposed to if you're not, because I don't think I'm not as open to leaving the door open or whatever the case is. I'm kind of like, all right, well, you at the doorstep anyway. I'm about to go back in this house, cook some chicken, and you gonna continue sitting at the doorstep. Like I'm not like that. Like it has to be, it's yeah, but it
Mhm.
kind of it just depends. But I like those moments. I think those are special.
Yeah, me too. But I mean, and so that's another thing with the whole friend language thing, because we literally in the Mom Squad, in the original Mom Squad, just had this conversation on relationships. I remember I was on that call, and like that's when I had brought up the whole friend language thing, and one of the girls,
Mhm.
she's super dope, super cool. Hey, girl. But we talked about the some of us were in there talking about being that fall off friend. And she was like, well, if you my friend, I'm needy. I need to talk to you. Da, 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 da. So I'm like, as dope as she is, as cool as he is, we'll never be inner circle friends. And that's okay
Mhm.
though. That's not she's trash, I'm trash,
Mhm.
none of that. Like we just don't align. It's all of to me, it's all about alignment. That's my word. And not even just for 2023. That's my word going forward for the rest of my life. Do you align?
Yeah.
Can we make this happen? But the
Mhm.
other thing I wanted to bring up when Nikki was talking about, um, being able to part ways and why do we hold on? Because that's definitely it. Like when you have like some of the relationships I let go last year were, knocking on 20 years. And so you think that, which is crazy, and I'm old enough to say
Mhm.
that. But when you start thinking about that, like you don't want to let stuff like that go. But now that I've been through it and had to grieve it and all of that, I like as much as I love and I feel like I am in perfect alignment with who's around me right now. Um, I have a whole new outlook. Like it's even it made me think of it also, Tiffany, when you were talking about listening and hearing people's values through just listening to them talk. there's somebody that is super close to me right now that I listen to them talk, and some of my flaws, they'll show up in other people, and that will get on her last nerve. And I'm like, she might chalk me
You
one.
mean you mean you would see some of your flaws in your friend?
Yeah, like she'll be like, I ain't
Mm.
got time for that. I nope, I don't have time for that. Mm-mm. And I'm like, but I do that.
Yeah.
or that's not my strength. Not to say,
Uh-huh.
some of the stuff I'm working on, some of the stuff is that's me. Like, so I say all that to say is I have learned to recognize the beauty of relationships in the moment.
Mm,
And I've learned to realize that they might not always last, and be okay with that.
mm,
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So that's what it is. Like, I love this person, and while we're in it, I am there 10,000%.
mhm.
And I should say not just this person, everybody. But I realize that people grow and people change, and things don't have to last forever for it to be a beautiful thing.
That's right.
Whew. Oh my
Well, we
God, this
should wrap
was
it
such
with
this was a
yeah,
deep
that was a
conversation.
good
We're gonna
little
have to have a part two. We need a part two to this conversation for
yes.
sure. Because it
Mhm.
was some I wanted to talk about when I was a bad friend. And I didn't get a chance to tell y'all. So I'll tell y'all on the next episode. I felt bad, but then when she heard my story, she was like, dang, girl. So we're gonna kick it off with how I was a bad friend on this part two of this episode because it was really good. And then I want to dive into more about communication because I can even as a friend, I expect communication and I communicate that with my friends, but then being open to how people communicate. You know what I mean? Like that's important too. And so I wanted us to dive into that as well. So we gotta keep this thing moving. We gotta go. So let's jump into Nikki's corner. What you got for us tonight, Nikki?
Woo! That's a loaded. This one is so loaded, and I didn't think I would like have so much, but okay. So where I'm going to start, I'm going to share two quotes that I have about this topic. They're the same, but they came to me at two different points in life. So one is something I heard Debbie Allen say one time. Um, she came to my job one time and did a whole speech on something. But she said, oh
Wow.
no,
I'm
she was
jealous.
told she said she was told this by her mentor. As you grow in life, you will shed people like skin, either because they don't keep up or they're simply not a part of where you are. And that is okay.
Mm.
It's okay. Like she literally, I remember
Can
it. She
you
was like,
send
it's
me that,
okay.
please?
She
Can
said,
you
Mhm.
send that
Yeah,
to
put that
me,
in the
please?
chat.
it's okay.
Mhm.
And then I just realized, because as I was looking for this, there's another quote that I saw recently, and it's kind of the same. And it says, everyone is evolving at their own pace and in their own way. From time to time, gaps will appear between you and those you deeply care for, and a sense of discord or separation may occur. And that's okay. And
Yeah.
then
Mm.
the last thing is something I was just reading the other day, and it says all relationships give us the opportunity to heal old wounds through sustained
Mm.
nurturing. So and it says this is in fact the secret of a happy relationship. If you are not content in your relationships, it may be because you have not nurtured yourself fully.
Mhm.
And so
Mm.
my own key takeaway from this whole thing is, well, one of them was learning to get what you need, where and who you get it from, because you may not always get it from the person that you're expecting it from. And so
Mhm.
if they're not giving you that, but then there's somewhere else you're getting that need met, then accept you just need your needs met. So we're not bad for the needs that we have, but it may not be the person or the people that we're expecting to get it from to be where we get it from. And so it's just learning
Mhm.
how to create that
That's
safe
really
space
good.
ourselves.
Yeah. Mm.
That's good. Okay. I'm like stuck there, but we
Oh
gotta
wait,
keep
and
it moving.
one more thing. I had one more question, and we could follow this up on the next episode. But Shamika, when you talked about people not being or not being able to hold the space of where you're going, could it be that the people that don't show up for you in a certain way may already feel like you're already in that space, and maybe they don't feel like they already feel like they don't fit in, or if you go a whole year without needing anything, do they feel at that time that you're good in my present? Like they don't know that their presence matters. Because sometimes I don't,
Ooh.
I've just recently started finding out and learning that my presence, certain places matter. Because I used to be like, oh, if I don't go, all of these people are going to be there. Little old me, it doesn't matter if I don't come. But then I started realizing from people that my presence does matter.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
a good one,
And
Nikki.
it's good, and I do recognize that because now one of the statements that I mentioned earlier is you have to tell people what value they add to your life. And so, I mean, I can even use you as an example. How many times I'm like, girl, you dope. I'm thankful for this, da, 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 and I'll text you, right? And so I think that before I did not do that, that whole thing, that whole therapy situation, she like, you need to communicate what you really need from these people. And then the other thing on top of that will be to tell them what value they're adding. Like, I do need you, and this is why, because this is what. And so, yes, very, very good point, and I have been trying to be intentional about doing that. Because I think it's important for you to know, like, where I am right now. I do need you. This is what you do for me right now in this moment. So yes, I mean, very nicely put, but yes. I love how you said that. So
Oh.
Tiffany, what you taking and leaving?
Um, I would say it was a lot today. It was
It
interesting.
was.
And even though, oh, look at the phone is trying to oh, stop it, phone. I was trying to pull up my notes. Um, it was trying to take in everything because it was interesting, I think, to hear, different different views and perspectives and what you guys have been through as well. And I think one is me being one thing I'm taking away is being thankful for the friendships that I do have,
Mhm.
being thankful that I've been able to cultivate and withstand and all of that on there, regarding the friendships that I have. And then the other part though that I think that I did as a takeaway though would be to keep in mind is that something that Nikki said about we don't meet we're if we're not meeting our own expectations in certain things, we can't expect others to meet those expectations as well. And then
Mhm.
it kind of piggies back then on how Marion was saying that she was getting mad at her girlfriend about being XYZ, and it had to be a self-reflection, like, oh well dang, I'll be doing the same thing. So I think that one thing is that there are times though within probably my friendship, and Shamika was challenging me of saying like, look, there's got to be something in your current, friendships and stuff like that. Is that if those arise, and maybe just the time, just can't really think of anything specific. They may just be so, minor. But when those times arise, is just being mindful of that part of it, and uh just saying like, hold on, well, if I can't do that, then why would I expect someone else, or I may not do that or whatever. Why would I expect someone else to do that, and just seeing it elsewhere and saying, but that's what you do, Tiff. So I'm a big person. I always say to people, friends, relationships, personal relationships, like, with your significant other, I always like put yourself in the other person's shoes. I always like to do that because it will check you. That's your own way to check yourself, is just saying that. I always say, put yourself in other people's shoes. I'll try to be mindful of that. So I would say those are my takeaways. And my leave it is I don't know if I necessarily have to leave it. Maybe my leave it would be I don't know. I think I just learned it was good just hearing different perspectives and stuff. And I think those would be my takeaways for right now. Maybe I could show maybe a little bit more empathy to people who I don't consider friends. Maybe that would be
Yes, now this one.
Maybe I should do that because I heard it a little bit way too much. So maybe I should leave the non-empathetic side to those that are not friends per se. Kind of go on there. So that's kind of where I stand with it. What about you, Marion?
I'm definitely, I would like to. I don't know how realistic this is because we are just two totally different people, but I would love to pick up that wall you have.
Ah,
Because I
It
feel like
ain't
what
in you. Sis, it ain't in you. It ain't in you.
I
Miss Activist, it's not in you. Not this way.
no, but you're probably right. One of the things I wrote on my notes was that the wall probably helped you not have these bad experiences because you can. I'm just like I like somebody like one of the friends I have now is just because she was a mom in need, and I just had to be there for her, and then a friendship grew out of that. Like we didn't really we knew each other because of mutual friendships and all that being in the same spaces, but really didn't call each other friend. But she needed somebody, and I had the capacity and the experience or what have you, the ability to be there for her, and now we are friends. Um, and so it's just like when I see somebody in need or whatever, like that's just who I am. I have an open heart. But that open heart has also caused a lot of pain. I had posted something, I posted a meme not too long ago that said, I got a good heart, but I'm done taking L's for it.
I hear that.
So I'm gonna try to at least a piece of the wall. It would look like Donald Trump's wall, just columns.
Never complete. I hear that.
They
Right.
might walk into the column.
Yeah, so just a little. I gotta have at least a screen door or something.
There
But,
you go. The screen door. That's a good one. There you go.
Yeah, some
um,
sort of
but
filtration
then,
system.
and I'm not really leaving anything right now. But I am not yet. I am instead of leaving stuff, I'm just still staying in the space to evolve and learn because I realize some of the things I said today are just maybe things I just need to come to realization about or whatever. So I don't have anything to leave just yet, but I'm still leaving myself in an open area to learn and to grow, especially when it comes to the area of friendships. So,
That's good.
mm-hmm.
And Nikki, when you kind of finished Nikki Corner, you kind of said, I don't know if you wanted to add anything else that you're taking and leaving.
So my takeaway was the whole learn to get what you get, to learn to get what you need from who and where you get it from. But I am leaving that whole buying stuff from people just because they selling it. And finding another way to support because I can tell you I got things in the closet that I bought because someone has started a new business and I realized I didn't need this and I didn't really want it, but you were trying to support. And also, I think that hinders the person from truly marketing who their ideal customer is.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably would just give it if they think it's $20. That's probably still giving them $20, but even
That's
if
how I
don't
feel
know.
about it. When people be like, support my business, I be like, just ask me for $20. I'll just ask me for $20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Tramika, what about you?
So, y'all, my stomach is churning. I'm probably gonna go think about this more and cry later. This is just such a sensitive topic to me, friendships, because this has always been like a challenging area. So I'm just gonna give my thoughts. I'm just putting them out. It ain't in no category, take it, leave it, none of that or whatever. Vulnerability. So I think that if I had to take anything away, it's going to be being more vulnerable, because going through therapy the last couple of years has helped me realize what I do need, because I was always this strong person and never took from other people, because I always was so used to people taking from me, and I given to people that I didn't know what it was like to receive anything. And I didn't know what it was like or know that it was required of me to communicate what I needed. And so now that it requires vulnerability to be able to do that. And so I am trying to like tell my friends what I need from them, how they can show up for me, but still it's a level of vulnerability that I'm growing through. I think that I am going to, I guess, take away the reality that friends can evolve over time. I value stability. Like, I moved around a lot as a child and as an adult. Like, I've started in New York, moved to North Carolina, moved to Georgia. Like, I just value stability. So I'm just wanting, like, can I just get like 2, 3 friends, guy? We're just like, these the ride or dies for the rest. Everybody else can evolve, right? But even listening to the quotes and then listening to the things that Nikki said, maybe my reality is that as I go through phases in life, my friends evolve. That's
Mm.
not okay for me. That's not what I want. And literally, it's probably going to bring me to tears to think about it tonight because that's not what I want. I want solid. But maybe it is the reality of my life because I do transition a lot in business and sis be over here doing a whole bunch of stuff, right? And so I can't expect for maybe the same friends. I don't know. Maybe I can't expect. I don't know, right? I'm just putting it out there. I can't expect for maybe your friends to be able to support me when I'm in this role in my life. But then when I'm working on this, it takes a different set of people. Like, I can, like, mentally, I understand that, but I'm just looking for this 1, 2 people where y'all can just be my ride or dies throughout it all. Maybe that's not reality for me though. And so I need to kind of like wrap my head around that because I am just looking for these solid friendships. And it's not like I just every year I got a different friend, but it's just like life will happen and that person will go away or I'll move away. I told you I lived in 3 states, right? And so I just want the solid. I just do. I do.
Sharika, I think it is reality for you.
Yeah.
It just may not have came your way yet, but it is definitely you can have friends that will support you through all phases of your life. Remember I told you I wanted to be a ninja, a cook, this or that, everything. And I have friends supporting me through all those journeys.
But where they at, sis? Where they at? I am hoping that the friends I have right now is going to be those right off to the sunset friends. That's what I'm hoping. Now, the people outside of that, let it evolve. I'm okay. I understand. But I just need some people to grow with and evolve with. And I've not necessarily had that my entire life. So that's just kind of where I am. I don't know. Take it and leave it with all that chopped into one.
I just want to add one thing to that. Just because something doesn't last doesn't mean it's not solid right now.
No, I agree with that. I just want to look up 20 years later and it's still those same people sitting next to me. That's what I'm saying. Like that's what I want.
Picture. And you were saying the video or the 2 ladies she had seen in there or sharing it.
And let me just put this out there too. I will say that some of the reason why my friendships have evolved, just to put that out there, is because I wasn't healed within myself. And so I was cutting people off and I was doing stuff and it wasn't lasting. And I was requiring and not even having the capacity to give people what they needed until I actually started going through therapy. So I feel like on the other side of this healed me, maybe I'll have those solids, but then I don't know. Maybe my reality is I'm going to keep evolving and there's going to be different people. Only time will tell, right? But that is truly what I desire.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that
All
was
right.
nice.
This was a heavy episode.
Yep.
Yeah. And we're going to do part 2.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Never mind. Well, Mom Squad, that's it. I'm still processing. It's hard for me to do this outro because I'm still processing.
We want them to share some things too. Let us know what y'all think about your views on this and your expectations and realities that you've dealt with and been through with friendships and such, and some encouraging advice or whatever you guys want to share. Let us know in those comments.
Or
I'm gonna ask y'all
where your expectations come from. How did you build them? What constructed your expectations?
I'm gonna first ask to be nice, but also say that you can, if you have some insight on our what we shared tonight, you can also add that as well. And how you can do that is in the comment section on YouTube, on Spotify, and if you're listening on your favorite podcast app, you can do that as well. You can also hit us up on IG at momscape.podcast and on YouTube at momscape.podcast, or you can just search Momscape Media. We also have a Facebook page, momscape.podcast. But just remember to like, share, and subscribe. Join in the conversation. Oh, email us. You can also email us at momscapemedia@gmail.com. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Leave us a 5-star rating, please. That will ensure that other moms like you and the moms that you love can be here next week on your weekly Mama Scape. See y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.